Good evening, all. Will start shortly. Yeah. All right. So let's start. Welcome all in our weekly webinar, Market Masterclass with Religare. In this webinar, we talk about the market performance during the week. But the key aspect is to know how you should position yourself, your trades, your investments for the next week, which sectors to focus on, which to avoid, stocks which should be in your watch list. Everything we'll cover in next 20 minutes, followed by the Q&A session. Before that, we'll take a quick feedback poll to understand whether you like this session or not, or in case if we need any kind of improvement. सो आप सभी का स्वागत है इस वेबिनार में। और अगले 20 मिनट में हम बात करने वाले हैं मार्केट्स की पोजीशनिंग की कि क्या करें। उससे पहले एक मार्केट का ब्रीफ स्नैपशॉट कि किस तरीके से मार्केट ने परफॉर्म किया, बट लार्जली हमारा फोकस एरिया होगा नेक्स्ट वीक पे। तो चाहे वो बेंचमार्क इंडाइसेस हों, चाहे वो सेक्टोरल इंडाइसेस हों, ब्रॉडर मार्केट्स, स्टॉक्स, ये सभी कुछ जिस पे आपको फोकस करना है, जिसमें नहीं करना है, ये सब चीजें कवर करने वाले हैं। उसके बाद एक फीडबैक पोल और फिर Q&A। कोई भी सवाल है आपका ड्यूरिंग दैट Q&A सेशन, ये बटन होगा, Q&A बटन आपकी स्क्रीन पे। ऑल यू नीड टू जस्ट प्रेस दैट बटन, राइट योर क्वेश्चन, बट Q&A के टाइम पे, राइट। उससे पहले नीड नॉट टू वरी अबाउट एनीथिंग। ये आपके पास webinar in case if you miss certain pointers, and you can go back and check on our Religare Online YouTube channel also. So let's start now. A quick disclaimer first that it's not a trading or an investment recommendation. The information which we are sharing is largely for the educational purpose, means what we are seeing, what we are observing in the markets, we are sharing that observations. And before you make any decision based on the information shared, please do check with your financial advisor. जो भी हम बात करने वाले हैं वो कोई भी ट्रेडिंग और इन्वेस्टमेंट रिकमेंडेशन नहीं है। जो भी इंफॉर्मेशन यूज करने से पहले अपने फाइनेंशियल एडवाइजर से आप जरूर बात करें। So this is the snapshot for the week. Means a very volatile week. Means initial sessions, strong recovery, but it fizzled out in just one single session on Thursday. And today it was again a very muted session. Means initially we were positive, but we eventually ended with a marginal gains. So all in all, it was a kind of a breather, when it comes to the index after the sharp decline that we experienced last week. So if you remember that indices were down roughly around 5% last week, both Nifty and Sensex. Sectorally, also a mixed trend was witnessed, but largely negativity persisted, wherein realty, FMCG, financials, pharma, banking, they were the top losers. Auto managed to witness decent gains, means roughly around 2.5%. The rest was modest gains like metal, IT, media, and all. Right? Gainers, losers, the top 5 gainers and losers. So here, as you can see, the trend means eternal after the sharp correction from the record highs. This week was a strong recovery week for Eternal, 8% gains. Then two of the names from the metal basket, Tata Steel, JSW Steel, one from the auto and one from the IT. So IT in the last 3 trading sessions, in the last, in the 2 occasions, we are seeing bit of a uh, respite or a rebound, but sustainability is still missing. Now, on the losing side, as you can see that the financial banking and financial names, Shriram Finance, HDFC Bank, among the top losers, followed by Hindalco, Cipla and Wipro. देखिए ये पूरे हफ्ते का लेखा जोखा है कि किस तरीके से मार्केट ने परफॉर्म किया। तो बहुत वॉलेटाइल हफ्ता था ये, और अभी तो बेसिकली ये सिनेरियो बनी गया है कि वॉलेटिलिटी काफी ज्यादा मार्केट में एक्सपीरियंस कर रहे हैं हम। ज्यादातर ग्लोबल फैक्टर्स की वजह से सबसे बड़ा फैक्टर हमारे लिए क्या है, चैलेंज, वो है क्रूड का। तो जब क्रूड आपका $103 से $120 जाएगा, फिर 106 $160 आ जाए, तो इस तरीके के मूव्स में मार्केट का रिएक्शन जो कि हम देख रहे हैं जिस तरीके से, वही चीजें लार्जली रिफ्लेक्ट करती हैं कि मार्केट में किस तरीके का वॉलेटिलिटी है। तो वो क्रूड रिफ्लेक्ट कर रहा है लार्जली, राइट। और रुपये की वीकनेस, बीच बीच में ग्लोबल मार्केट की वीकनेस, ये सारे फैक्टर्स भी मार्केट पे अभी सेंटिमेंट्स को डेंट कर रहे हैं। तो सेक्टोरली केवल ऑटो के अलावा कहीं पे भी आप ज्यादा स्ट्रेंथ की बात नहीं करेंगे। कहीं बस मॉडेस्ट गेन थे मेटल और आईटी में। लूजिंग साइड पे रियलिटी, एफएमसीजी, इन सब में आपने शार्प कर देखे। गेनर्स लूजर्स यहाँ पे भी कोई क्लूज नहीं मिल रहे हैं कि कोई ऐसा पर्टिकुलर सेक्टर आपको नजर आए जो कि बहुत क्लियरली आइडेंटिफाई कर पाए आप कि यहाँ पे स्ट्रेंथ थी। तो हर साइड की पोजीशंस आपको देखने को मिल रही हैं। बैंकिंग फाइनेंशियल्स में डेफिनेटली एचडीएफसी बैंक का जो प्रेशर पोस्ट चेयरमैन रेजिग्नेशन जो रहा, वो एक डेफिनेटली एक फैक्टर रहा। तो उसमें अब क्या पोजीशनिंग है, कैसे करना चाहिए आगे, विल डिस्कस इन दी फॉलोइंग स्लाइड्स, राइट। सो लेट्स नॉट waste time, and this is how we are positioned on the daily chart for the Nifty index, right? So we were here last week, on Friday, when we discussed about markets, right? That a sharp decline means roughly around 2000, more than 2000 point kind of a decline. And this was the support zone, 22,900, 23, 200 zone. So market respected that area. In the following session, we saw a rebound like what we've shared. And then on Thursday, it completely, surrendered all those gains, followed by a muted close on today's session. So what is the scenario now, means how we should position. So see, two important things. If you remember that, around these areas, when markets were trading around these areas, we used to refer this yellow line as a very critical support or resistance, right? And now look at the distance from this yellow line to the current market price. The yellow line, the 20 EMA, is around 24,200 mark. And for the index, we are currently around 23,100. So roughly around 1100 points kind of a distance is something that we are currently seeing. And that is the shortest moving average that, we usually use for any sign of momentum in the market. So that clearly shows that the momentum is strongly on the negative side. It's a vertical fall. So after such falls, usually we see a mean reversion. What is mean reversion? That, let's say, if I guess we've discussed about this earlier also, that anything, be it a stock or any object, like, maintaining the same momentum for a longer period is practically impossible. So eventually the momentum loses, right? It loses steam, and we see a kind of a counter moves like this, a couple of days of rebound like this. So that reduces the difference between these extremes. So why it happens? Because usually we see that after the oversold position and this support area existence, market experiences bit of, like, buying interest, that yes, it's extremely oversold, and some of the pockets wherein investors see strength, they look for bargain hunting. So next week also, what we see that 22,800, earlier it was 22,900, but 22,800 now we see as a critical support to watch out for in the index for the next week, right? In case if we fail, then this red line, the area from where last time, like, we were seeing consolidation, uh, it's much clear on the weekly graph that the major supports comes around this 22,000 mark. But in between, we have these areas like 22,800 to 22,600 zone. That's the next support zone. Like for the last week, it was this area. So since we have already penetrated that mark, that position has shifted lower. In case if we see a rebound, first we need to fill this gap, 23,600, this gap that we have here. And then around 24,000 will be the next major hurdle. So broadly, we have the range, clear range in place, that 22,600 to 24,000, or rather 22,000 to 24,000, 2,000 point, considering the kind of moves that market is experiencing. Possibility and probability, see, until we see crude making a sustained down move below 100 mark, possibility of further correction despite the oversold position is high. What it means that we might see a bit of a rebound or recovery attempt, but until we see the crude sustains and slips below this $100 mark, then making a meaningful recovery and sustaining that recovery is going to be very difficult for markets. Right? So the tone is still bearish despite oversold position. But yes, since the positions are oversold, we might see a gradual drift in the index. It's going to be grinding, not a very sharp swings. Maybe like a couple of days consolidation and then probably a decline, or maybe a rebound and then decline, something like that. But tone is negative. Okay. सो देखिए, जो इंडेक्स में नेक्स्ट वीक के लिए हमको प्लान करना है, जैसे कि लास्ट वीक भी हमने बात की थी कि ये जोन इंपॉर्टेंट है, उसको मार्केट ने रिस्पेक्ट किया, इनिशियल 3 सेशन में एक रिकवरी भी आई, बट वो रिकवरी सस्टेन क्यों नहीं कर रही है? क्योंकि क्रूड जो मेजर फैक्टर है हमारे लिए, वो अभी तक सरदर्द बना हुआ है। इस वीक दोबारा से $119 के पास पहुंच गए थे हम ब्रेंट में। कल जाके जो स्टेटमेंट्स आई हैं कि अब ईरान के इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर पे, एनर्जी इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर पे अटैक नहीं होगा, तो फिर दोबारा से रिलीफ हुआ है। बट अभी भी कोई खास नहीं, बिकॉज जैसा कि सेशन की शुरुआत से पहले मैं देख रहा था, 107 108 के डॉलर के पास अभी भी हम ब्रेंट में घूम रहे हैं। तो ये भी कोई पॉजिटिव न्यूज नहीं है। जब तक कि आप 100 के डॉलर के नीचे नहीं आते, तब तक मार्केट सेंटिमेंट्स वीक ही रहेगा। और हो सकता है क्योंकि ओवरसोल्ड पोजीशन है तो बीच बीच में पॉज आते रहे, बट टोन नेगेटिव रहेगा। इसका मतलब जितनी बार भी आप 23,600 800 के पास जाएंगे, सेलिंग प्रेशर मार्केट को फेस करने का मिलेगा। नीचे पे कहाँ तक खुला है? 22,600, 22,800 इमीडिएट सपोर्ट है, उसके बाद 22,000 का। राइट। इंडिया विक्स दूसरा इंडिकेटर है जो आपको ध्यान रखना है। इंडिया विक्स विच शोज द वॉलेटिलिटी, किस तरीके का मार्केट सेंटिमेंट्स है इन द नेक्स्ट 30 days। तो दैट इज स्टिल एट द हायर एंड, मींस 22 के लेवल के पास, 22.65 ऐसा कुछ लेवल आज क्लोज हो रहा था। सो क्रूड के साथ साथ वहां पे आपको इंडिकेटर मिल जाएगा कि अगर इंडिया विक्स और क्रूड दोनों ही एक साथ कूल ऑफ हो रहे हैं, तो इट मींस मार्केट में कहीं ना कहीं थोड़ा सा रिलीफ आ सकता है, जो सस्टेन्ड रिकवरी आ सकती है। राइट। अभी के लिए टोन नेगेटिव है, और 23,600 सॉरी 22,600 और 22,000 के लेवल नीचे की साइड पे, 23,600 24,000 ऊपर की साइड पे। This is banking. This is much better to what we are experiencing in Nifty index, and this is the weekly graph for banking, not the daily, because here we see a better clarity or picture that what's going on. So last week, if you remember that we were discussing about this green line, right? So somehow we managed to hold around that area, if not strongly sustained, but at least hold around that area. This is around 53,400 mark, right? In case if let's say we hold this area and without further damage, then it's going to be a possible outperformer in the next leg of recovery in for markets, right? तो देखिए बैंकिंग में अभी भी मैं कह रहा हूं कि इसका टेक्सचर जितने शार्प डिक्लाइन इसमें भी आया है, बट इसका टेक्सचर अभी भी कंपैरेटिवली बेटर है देन निफ्टी इंडेक्स। और ये मैं क्यों कह रहा हूँ, बिकॉज जैसे कि आपने भी देखा कि लास्ट वीक जो हमने बात की थी कि भाई ये 100 EMA का मार्क है वीकली चार्ट्स पे, इसको रिस्पेक्ट करना चाहिए, तो उन्हीं लेवल के पास अभी तक ये होवर कर रहा है। इट डजेंट मीन कि ये गिर नहीं सकता है, बट या जब तक ये रिस्पेक्ट कर रहा है तब तक अपने को बेनिफिट ऑफ डाउट देना पड़ेगा कि यहाँ से एक रिकवरी कंसोलिडेशन हो सकता है। और अगर मार्केट में रिकवरी आएगी तो हो सकता है वो बैंकिंग लेड ही हो, राइट, रेट सेंसिटिव। बेसिकली देखिए सेक्टर कौन से स्ट्रांग लग रहे हैं। लास्ट वीक क्या बात की थी हमने, फार्मा और एनर्जी, राइट, कि वहां पे अपने को स्ट्रेंथ है, बाकी कोई सेक्टर ऐसा है नहीं। तो एग्जैक्टली अभी भी सिचुएशन वही है कि वहां पे एनर्जी स्पेस में, फार्मा स्पेस में कंपैरेटिवली ठीक ठाक काउंटर्स मिल रहे हैं अपने को ऑन द लॉन्ग साइड, बट रेस्ट ऑफ द सेक्टर्स कहीं पे कुछ है नहीं। तो अगर मार्केट को रिकवर करना है देन बैंकिंग एंड ऑटो बोथ शुड पार्टिसिपेट, एंड देन दिस लाइक अदर काउंटर्स फिल इन एज एंड व्हेन रिक्वायर्ड। तो बैंकिंग के लिए दैट 52,300 in case if we fail to hold this area, the current area close to around 53,000 mark, then 52,400 and 51,000 probably will be the zone where we have this uh, retracement levels placed. Okay. In case of recovery also is not going to be almost vertical, so means we have roughly around two hurdles till 57,000 mark. First at 55,700 and second at 56,800. This is only for the next week, not for the longer period. But for the next week, these are the areas where we might see pressure. Coming to the PSUs and private, so both are experiencing pressure, but uh, this time around, private banking counters are less volatile. But at the same time, when it comes to the recovery, PSUs are the one which are seeing recovery first. So again, you need to choose between the two. Once the market settle down, PSU is likely to recover faster. Okay, so stock like Indian Bank, SBI, Bank of Baroda, Canara Bank, like what we discussed in the past, the top performer names within the PSU banking basket. While Axis, ICICI, HDFC, they might continue to trade, sideways or range bound in the near future. So banking looks, in short, banking looks comparatively better. Banking थोड़ा सा निफ्टी से ज्यादा ठीक ठाक लग रहा है अभी तक, उसका पिक्चर इतनी खराब नहीं हुई है। खराब कब होगी, जब 53,000 के नीचे आप स्लिप कर जाएंगे, तब मांगे चलिए कि 52,000 और 51,000 वाले लेवल खुल जाएंगे। वो अभी सिनेरियो नहीं है इसमें, राइट। बैंकिंग हो सकता है कि आपके लिए मेन कैटलिस्ट हो नेक्स्ट वीक रिकवरी का। Now let's talk about the sectors. So same list of sectors, like no change. Both pharma and energy is something. Energy excluding the OMCs, oil marketing companies को अलावा जो बास्केट है, चाहे वो पावर जनरेटर का है, डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर्स का है, stock like Coal India, NTPC, Power Grid, long list, right? Pharma, selectively we are seeing strength, but majority of the counters they are doing well. So Oro Pharma from the pharma basket, as you can see, the strength means in case if the markets are extremely volatile and you see this kind of candle on the weekly chart, that clearly shows the strength. Means last week we have this consolidation range breakout followed by a muted close this week. So it means bulls are still under control. They are just waiting for market to stabilize a bit, and then probably a trend reduction is something that the stock might experience. तो अभी के लिए जैसे कि दो सेक्टर हमने बात की है, एनर्जी के और फार्मा की, जहां पे कि लार्जली स्ट्रेंथ है, बाकी कोई ऐसा सेक्टर है नहीं। चाहे वो बैंकिंग हो, ऑटो, सभी में प्रेशर आ रहा है। आईटी जो कि एक दो दिन रिलीफ रैली रिकवरी दिखाई बट फिजल आउट हो गई। तो इसमें जो सेक्टर में इसमें स्ट्रेंथ है उसमें से ऑरो फार्मा, ग्लेनमार्क, सन फार्मा, ग्रैनुअल्स, ये कुछ एक ऐसे नाम है जहाँ पे की स्ट्रेंथ दिख रही है। और ऑरो फार्मा बिल्कुल क्लियरली नजर आ रहा है आपको चार्ट को देखकर ही कि एक तेजी के बाद जो कंसोलिडेशन रेंज के एक ब्रेकआउट आया था उसके बाद से इस वीक केवल एक पॉज हुआ है। कुछ खास डेंट नहीं हुआ उसका सेंटिमेंट इतनी वॉलेटाइल मूव्स के बाद भी। तो यहाँ से एंटिसिपेशन है कि एक रिकवरी एक्सटेंड हो सकती है आने वाले दिनों में। नेक्स्ट ऑन द लिस्ट इज NLC इंडिया। सम ऑफ यू माइट हैव हर्ड दिस नेम बिफोर, किसी के लिए नया होगा। सो NLC नवेली लिग्नाइट, जिसने पास्ट में मींस 5 साल 6 साल पहले का जिसने ट्रेडिंग का एक्सपीरियंस होगा, दे माइट हैव हर्ड दिस नेम। नवेली लिग्नाइट, दे आर इनटू माइनिंग एंड पावर जनरेशन। सो कैश का काउंटर है एंड एज यू कैन सी दैट्स अ वेरी प्रोलॉन्ग कंसोलिडेशन अराउंड द रिकॉर्ड हाइज, राइट? इट्स नॉट 1 वीक, ये आपका वीकली चार्ट है एंड इट्स बिन व्हाट नियरली over 2 years now that we are seeing this consolidation in this tight range, not a tight range, rather, it's a decent range, means 180 to 280 is a kind of a range that the stock has been trading in. And off late, we have started seeing that the stock is trading closer to its upper band. So remember, energy counters, power counters, they are doing well. And Navedi Lignite, Coal India, means the Tata Power, this kind of stocks, they are showing strength. So stick with the performers, right? NLC, after this pause, tight range consolidation, irrespective of what we are seeing in the market, clearly shows strength. And the bias would remain on the positive side until we break this green line, which is the 100 days on the weekly charts. When we'll have a confirmation, once we cross this barrier around 280-85 levels, then we'll have a confirmation that the stock is set for the strong directional move, right? तो अभी के लिए जैसे हमने बात की कि एनर्जी काउंटर्स, तो इसमें जो दूसरा नाम एनर्जी स्पेस में लेवेली इग्नाइट NLC इंडिया का काफी लंबा कंसोलिडेशन ये स्टॉक ऑलरेडी झेल चुका है और अभी अपने अपर बैंड के पास, जैसे कि यहाँ पे एक ब्रेकआउट का अटेम्प्ट हुआ था, फिर वो फेड आउट हुआ और फिर एक दोबारा से कंसोलिडेशन में चला गया। इस बार अगर ये निकलता है इस 285-290 के जोन पे, तो एक स्ट्रॉन्ग डायरेक्शनल मूव यहाँ पे आपको देखने को मिल सकता है, राइट? सो इस मार्केट में जहाँ पे वीकनेस ज्यादा है, वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट स्ट्रेंथ यहाँ पे फार्मा एंड एनर्जी, बट at the same time we should look for shorting candidates also. It's not that market के trend के against जाके you can make money for long. Eventually, like, these kind of stocks also, like Oro Pharma, Navili, they might go sideways, they might experience further consolidation. But in case if you are sitting on the right side of the market, means which is bearish, and identify a right sort of stock for shorting, then it yields results immediately. So VBL short-term chart clearly indicates, I guess we have discussed this a couple of weeks ago also. So a very tight range consolidation, we were eyeing a possible recovery, but it turned out to be otherwise. A breakdown followed by the confirmation. Stock has slipped below the long-term averages also. सारी की सारी चीजें यहाँ पे नेगेटिव होती हुई नजर आ रही हैं BBL में, राइट? वरुण बेवरेजेस इज द नेम ऑफ दिस स्टॉक, राइट? तो यहाँ पे ब्रेकआउट के अटेम्प्ट जो करने की कोशिश कर रहा था वो फेड आउट हुआ, उसके बाद से ब्रेकडाउन का अटेम्प्ट बट सक्सेसफुली दिख रहा है इसमें। तो यहाँ पे आने वाले टाइम में प्रेशर ऑन देखने को मिल सकता है। शॉर्ट टर्म में बायस नेगेटिव है, तो शॉर्टिंग अपॉर्चुनिटी अगर आप ढूंढ रहे हैं तो इसको आप अपने लिस्ट में लगा सकते हैं, राइट? सो दिस इज ऑल दी अबाउट द प्रेजेंटेशन। अगर वी हैव टू समराइज फॉर द इंडेक्स फर्स्ट, दैट tone negative 23,600, 22,600, 22,800 immediate support zone. Then probably around 22,000 is something that market may drift in case if crude fail to see any sustainable decline, right? And banking looks comparatively better, but still, since the market tone is negative and we are still seeing pressure, uh, one should refrain from any aggressive buying until we clearly see a sign of reversal. But in case if there be any reversal, banking is likely to outperform, right? Within the banking, PSUs might do comparatively better. Uh, SBI, Indian Bank, Bank of Baroda, Canara Bank, these are the names wherein we see strength. Talking about sectors, energy and pharma, the two key sectors wherein we expect the relative strength to continue, while others are likely to trade with sideways to negative bias largely. Among these stocks, Oro Pharma and NLC India is something wherein we see strength and VBL on the short side. तो देखिए जो ओवरऑल हमारा इस पूरे वेबिनार में हमने जो बात की उसका निष्कर्ष क्या है कि मार्केट का टोन नेगेटिव है ओवरसोल्ड पोजीशन के बावजूद भी, और वो कब तक नेगेटिव रहेगा जब तक कि क्रूड ठंडा नहीं होता, राइट? तो जब तक क्रूड ठंडा नहीं होता तब तक मान के चले कि मार्केट में रिस्क बना रहेगा नीचे का। नीचे में कहाँ तक? 22,800 600 पहला सपोर्ट, उसके बाद 22,000 का। बैंकिंग कंपैरेटिवली बेटर है, बट किस तरीके का सिनेरियो अनफोल्ड होता है डाउन साइड पे, जिस तरीके से अभी तक आउट परफॉर्म कर रहा है वो रिकवरी उन्हीं सेक्टर में आती है जहां पे कि डिक्लाइन के केस में आउट परफॉर्मेंस दिखे, राइट? तो जैसे कि अभी आपको एनर्जी और फार्मा में दिख रहा है कि वो रिलेटिवली स्ट्रांग है। तो जब भी मार्केट अगर रिकवर करेगी तो फर्स्ट आपको यहीं पे ही और तेजी नजर आएगी, उसके बाद आपको दूसरे सेक्टर जहां पे कि फंडामेंटली साउंड पोजीशनिंग है लाइक बैंकिंग एंड ऑटो। बट अभी के लिए वहां पे भी नेगेटिव बायस है, और शॉर्ट टर्म में एनर्जी या फार्मा पे ज्यादा फोकस करना है। एनर्जी काउंटर्स में हमने एनएलसी इंडिया की बात की, फार्मा में हमने औरो फार्मा की, और वीबीएल जो कि शॉर्टिंग साइड के कैंडिडेट के लिए आप अपनी लिस्ट में रख सकते हैं, राइट? सो दिस इज ऑल फ्रॉम द प्रेजेंटेशन पार्ट। नाउ लेट्स डू अ क्विक feedback poll. So please fill in your feedback and then you can start posting your questions using that Q&A button. जो भी आपका सवाल है अब आप पूछ सकते हैं। एक बार ये फीडबैक अपना शेयर कर दीजिए, उसके बाद क्वेश्चन मार्क का एक बटन होगा आपकी स्क्रीन पे, जस्ट पुश करिए और उसमें अपना सवाल लिखकर आप पूछ सकते हैं। Those who are done with the feedback, they can start posting their questions. जिनका हो गया है फीडबैक में वो अपना सवाल लिखना शुरू कर सकते हैं, so that we can end the session on time. We are almost done now. Let's end the poll. Chaliye, let's start with the Q&A now. Okay, so first we have from Mr. Vijayshri on gold ETF. Okay, so I understand that earlier it was at least area where at least we have something to look forward to. The bullions, which were holding strong, which were in fact witnessing very strong momentum. But this time around, even the geopolitical thing is not helping the bullion big time. In fact, we are seeing sharp correction. So I feel that if the view is very short term, then gold ETF is not a good instrument to look at. It means you should rather be like focusing on the uh, derivative markets altogether. And I assume that since you have bought gold ETF, your time horizon is long term. So instead of focusing gold as an instrument for exponential returns like what we have experienced in the recent years, it's a hedge against the volatile scenario, against the difficult times in the markets. So in case if you have bought 8 to 10%, or rather 15 to 20% of your entire portfolio in gold ETF, it is okay to hold even for the long term. But in case if you are anticipating the same kind of returns that gold has experienced in the recent years, I strongly see the possibility of disappointment this time, kind of like, move, especially that we are experiencing in gold. It's not that the trend has reversed, long term trend is still intact, but the kind of returns that gold and silver were experiencing, that not likely the case. If your view is short term, uh, avoid or reduce in case if you get the opportunity. If it is for long term, definitely you can even buy at current levels. So next we have Snyantan, on which sector is safest now. So honestly, there is no sector which is safe, because in fact, energy and pharma counters also experiencing profit taking. But yeah, they are relatively strong. Means let's say if banks auto declines by uh, 1 rupee, they are declining by, let's say, 0.10, right? So this kind of outperformance is more important, because in case the market trend is negative, largely all sectors follow or focus on the same side sooner or later. So that's why when we talk about the corrective market scenario, identifying a good stock and accumulating them gradually instead of going all in is the right approach. Or you can just look for very short term counter moves. Means in case if you see energy counters, let's say Tata Power for example, witnessing a fresh breakout, so just uh, go ahead and execute the trade for 2-3% kind of a return with 1% as a strict stop loss, right? So there's no other way where we can trade in this market, especially on the long side. Okay, so Priya, I hope that I've already answered your query on gold and silver. So for both bullion, the view, short-term view is still negative. They are extremely oversold, so we might see a bounce. So short-term, uh, it's better to avoid if you are investing in ETF for short-term. Like for that we have derivatives, and gold 10, silver micro is something that you can trade in. In case if you made investment for the long term, don't panic with this decline. And 10 to 15% of your entire portfolio, in case if it is in gold, it's a good hedge. Okay, lots of stock specific queries. So first we'll see in case if we have anything on sectors, and then we'll switch to uh, stock specific queries. Okay. So Lolit G has this question on which platform can we get the live and instant news. So news is not going to help. Means you know gone are the times when we see a news and basis that you can trade or invest. You'll end up losing your entire corpus. Possibility of that is very high. So avoid this kind of approach. You know, take an informed approach. Means look for a clear uh, advice with clear risk to reward ratio also, in case if you are looking for short term, and fundamental backing in case if you're looking for investment. Avoid reacting on news. Okay, Santosh, I have made it very clear that the bias is negative, right? So I'm not sure that we are going to go up or down. The bias is negative means in case if we see any recovery and crude stays where it is, the selling pressure is likely to emerge at higher levels, right? So tone, a bias is still negative. There is no doubt about it, despite the oversold position. In case if something changes over the weekend, crude comes down below $100 mark and it sustains, then probably the scenario might completely change and we'll head higher towards 24,000, 24,400 levels also. But as of now, that is not the scenario. So until we see that, negative sentiments. Okay, so next question we have from Vivek on the target for 2026. Honestly, nobody knows. In case if somebody claims that he knows that what will be the target for 2026, he's just making a guess, because in a current scenario also, 2-3 months ago we were at the record highs, right? And we were hearing, uh, 30,000, 30,000 kind of like, level for the by the end of the year. But the entire scenario changed with this just one war, right? And which triggered crude to a different level altogether. But having said that, 22,000, I believe, is going to be a very critical support for 2026. That is true that we are very close to that mark. And I see that level as a very important and critical area. I'm not sure about the upside, but downside 22,000 is going to be very critical, right? So, as an investor, it's definitely a good news because we are very close to that mark. And in case if somebody is in making investments in a staggered manner in quality counters, this is the time basically they can look for like quality investments, right? So both thing, uh, you know uh, we get difficult means extraordinary prices and good prices to invest, and market trend also remain on the positive side. Okay. Snehansh, are you thinking that market menu without technical analysis? Sorry, I didn't get it. Means what exactly you want to understand, or is going. So honestly, I have no clue. Means are we going for a long-term consolidation or things like that? What the indications are is that the trend is negative. So we should not preempt like what I have shared in my previous webinars also. Let's just trade with the trend. Nobody knows where we are heading next week. It's just that we need to be prepared with the clear risk parameters that in case if this thing is going to happen, I'll be taking this stance. In case if this happens, I'll be taking this stance. Right. So as of now, from the economy point of view, things have not changed to that extent, yes. But yes, start like hurting because by the time that we were closing the markets, there was an update on IOC that it's increasing the oil prices for the industrial uses. Big time jump means from roughly around 87 to 100 plus. So that definitely dents the overall positivity which we are seeing in the markets, in the economy, which eventually reflect in the stock markets as well. So as of now, till how long this is going to continue means crude sustaining at these levels, how long this war continues, and in case if something else also comes up, in case once this settle down. So nobody knows. So as of now, if you are looking for investment, stick only with the quality names wherein there's no interest burden, domestic facing means less exposure to the export side. This is something that you should be focusing on if the view is long term, right? Okay, Vivek, I have already shared Nifty ka, so please you can go and check YouTube पे जाके Religare online के channel पे this video, and you will get all the answers. Okay, when it comes to the index. Okay, so our breakout false reaction should we hold the monthly put? Uh, so Vidya, means in case if you have made hedging through monthly puts, I don't see any reason to change that view as of now, like what I've shared so far. And it's a good thing to hedge to give buyer insurance kind of a approach where maintaining a stop loss at times become difficult due to psychological reason, and like at times due to the gap downs also. So in case if you have bought it monthly put as a hedge to your longs, then it's a good strategy. Otherwise you should, and it should not be like deep out of the money, that we are at 23,000 mark and you have bought it 22,000 ka put, so that is not going to help you, right? So in case if you have bought it at the money put and as a hedge, definitely you can continue to stay put until we see a clear sign of reversal. It is okay to lose some of the premium during the interim as a insurance, right? विवेक जी, मैंने जैसे बताया आपको, रेलीगेयर ऑनलाइन के चैनल पे ये वीडियो आपको अवेलेबल होगा। आप यूट्यूब पे जाके जितनी भी चीजें हैं इस प्रेजेंटेशन की जो हमने बात की है, वो सारी चीजें देख सकते हैं दोबारा से। ओके। ओके। सेम व्यू। सी, जिन्होंने भी मिस कर दिया है, लास्ट में ज्वाइन किया है, बीच में ज्वाइन किया है, दे कैन गो बैक एंड जस्ट चेक रेलीगर ऑनलाइन, हमारा यूट्यूब चैनल है। उसको आप सर्च करिए एंड यू विल फाइंड द वीडियो इन लाइव सेक्शन। लाइव जो अभी चल रहा है, तो उसमें आपको ये मिल जाएगा। ओके। गौरांग, good afternoon, and in case if you are associated with us, you can write to us, through the branches or business partner, uh, and accordingly they'll share you the list of stocks for long-term investment. Okay. Okay, now we'll address few stock specific queries. Still, it's a very long list. Let's see how many we can answer. So first, we have Mr. Kumaran on SDFC Life. So let's see where we on SDFC Life. So by the way, SDFC Life and other life insurance counters, they were also witnessing pressure. Yes, so a very sharp cuts in last 3 4 weeks, and still this zone close to around 600 is something that we see as a very strong base. Prior to that, possibility of marginal rebound, which might cap toward 650 660 area is high. But overall, despite oversold position, still like there is no sign of recovery yet. So avoid any aggressive long in case if you have any positioning. You may consider placing your stop at 600 mark. In case of recovery, 650 660. That's the first area to look at. Okay, what next? Uh, Shabir Daji, it's a long list, so I'll just answer the first two, Moschip and NHPC. So Moschip, like after this sharp decline, still there is no sign of recovery. Here also, volumes are very dry now. Possibility of a retest 155 is high. In case if it fails to hold this area, then probably we are set for the record lows. So in case if you have any position, 155 is the area where you might consider placing stop. And in case of recovery, 174 first and then 195.98, very strong resistance. So use any recovery to reduce in case if the view is short term, is what charts are indicating. Okay, NHPC looks comparatively okay, means like what we've shared about energy counters, and but here also we have this hurdle at 79. So in case if it crosses this zone, then probably we may see a recovery towards 85, 87. Else it might remain range bound with 75, 73 as a immediate base. Okay, what else? HUL looks weak, and in fact, the entire FMCG basket looks weak. So here I would recommend to avoid if the view is short term. In case if you have any existing position, there's in fact we have almost breached the immediate support. So now the next support comes around 1960. So the prudent approach is to reduce your position in case if the view is short term, and in case of recovery also 2150 2200 will be the strong resistance area. So hope it answers your query. Okay, what else? What else? Reliance. Parijat Pandey has this question. What about Reliance? So Reliance looks comparatively stronger, and alongside with banking, wherein we see strength, this counter definitely holds a key position where if there'll be any sustained recovery or not. But for Reliance also, 1450 is still a strong hurdle to cross. Once we surpass that, then probably we may see a sustained recovery towards 1520, 1600 mark. Otherwise, it's going to be a very gradual or grinding move. But yeah, it looks comparatively stronger. within the heavyweight space. Okay. Uh, Priya, we like I'm shared this key. I don't know that how much time that any stock or any underlying is going to take for recovery or uh, decline. But the trend is negative for ITC, is what the indications are, and it's not going to change until we see a close above 330, 335. We have multiple resistances before that also means 310 to 320, but 335 is the major hurdle. So near term, at least it won't look like that we are going to see any strong recovery. So just uh, keep a close eye on the levels. Means until we break 320, the scenario is going to be negative to sideways. Okay. All right. Nikhil has this question on CP plus. CP Plus looks very interesting. In fact, the stock is trading with the record highs. Volumes are not okay, but it is okay. Means price wise, in case if somebody is maintaining the momentum despite this carnage. Uh, but we are very close to the resistance. So 1750, 1780 area is multiple means it's closer to the record high. So we might see some profit taking. So your stop should be at 1670, 1650 area in case if you have any existing position. And once we, let's say, surpass this record high zone, then we are set for the next leg of move towards 2100 or maybe higher. So it looks okay, 1640, 1650. With that as a stop, one can consider holding if the view is positional. Okay. So yeah, largely we have answered. Okay, so we have a couple of more queries. FMCG we have already answered, so I'm not going to explain that again. LT Foods, uh, very volatile, and it may remain so until we see the dust settle down on war front. So 395, 396, that's the hurdle. If the view is short term, you may exit and re-enter once it's closes above 400 mark. Otherwise, you can avoid if the view is short term. Okay. HUL we have already discussed. Santosh, IndusInd Bank. IndusInd Bank, yes, you can sell. The tone still looks negative. 845, 850 is a strong hurdle. And downside, the supports comes around 750. Okay. Sheila Foam and SFL, I guess, Sheila Foam. It's very close to its record lows. So please avoid this stock, in case if you are planning any fresh position until we see close above 600 mark, 620 mark. Otherwise, it might make a new record low or inch toward 420 or maybe lower. So as of there now, there is no sign of recovery. In case if you have any existing position, 500 is the immediate support. So that should be the stop. Okay, so with this, we have largely answered all the queries. So thank you everyone for joining in. Next week, same time, same place. We'll connect again. We'll discuss about markets. Till then, take care. Thank you.